Are we starting now?
Have we started?
Because I get a text here saying Scott is asking what camera you use. Is that
no, that was a test.
Oh, that's a test.
Okay. That one's a test, yeah.
Yeah. So we're live. It's like, you know what? You don't have the comms monitor to see what's going on.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready to go.
So you said you're going to introduce yourself first.
Oh, you want me to introduce myself first?
No, Anthony, I think he's going to do it.
Okay. My name is Anthony Metchie, and I'm a director photographer. I've been a director photographer for quite a long time. Since I just can't remember, it's almost like more than 20 years I've been DPing. I live in Vancouver, BC. Most of the shows that I've done is mostly in Vancouver. I've traveled to Nigeria where I produced some shows in Nigeria. This was a long time ago during the writer's strike. And, I don't know what else to say about myself. I enjoy being a DP. I own my own equipment. Recently, actually, for the past 10 years, I own my own camera, electric grips, and, generators. So basically, I own my own equipment, The only thing
you have a generator?
Yeah, I own the 3 generators. I use my own generators for the shows that I do. So,
how big?
They're big. The biggest one I have is 175 kVU. But that one is too big. But I own like 3 75 kVU, which is what I use for the shows that small Hallmark shows that I do. They're just perfect for those shows, So that's me. I use red cameras. I invested in red cameras a long time ago. Then there was a red one, which I bought and I traded in for red Epic, and I own a red weapon, which is an 8K camera, which I've used for quite some time to do the shows. So basically, I own my own equipment. The only thing I rent is probably just the cables, the cables and few small lights, and I rent for the shows that I do. And I've done it for quite some time. I've done it for more than 7-8 years now. I own, and so that's me. Yeah.
So do you have your own trucks, or do you?
I own trucks before, but I got into issues with Teamsters. We had issues with, so I had to get rid of some of the trucks. But I own like tractor trailers, tractors, trailers. Like my electrics, my grips and electric trucks are like 50 feet tractor. So basically, the agreement we made was I own the tractors and they bring the trailers to tow it, and so that has worked for us for quite some time now. Yeah,
wow. I used
to own camera trucks and grip trucks, but I just don't own them anymore. Yeah,
right.
I rent that when I do my shows. Yeah. So it wasn't easy.
You remind me of Kurt Peterson. You know him?
I know Peter Peterson is a friend of mine. In fact, when I started there a long time ago, when we used to shoot 35 cameras, right? I used to rent his equipment to do the shows until I realized his equipment was too old. It was just too many.
I think everyone has the same problem with his equipment. It's so true.
His equipment was a little too old, but I used his equipment to shoot some of the show when I used to do a lot of sci-fi movies. And so I used his, I remember his 25 to 250 zoom lens. It was good.
Right. Yeah.
And some of his equipment and cables, there are a lot of issues, because lack of maintenance for years. And so, Peter is a nice guy. In fact, one of the first, when I started working in the film industry, when I was a lamp up, I worked with Peter Curtis in long time ago when he used to have like 6 or 7 cameras on one show, run around, placing cameras everywhere, right? It was fun watching him. Yeah, it was fun.
His thing was, he'd give you the gear for fairly inexpensive, but add all these cameras and then throw in a whole bunch of, you have to pay for the film. So then even though you're doing a log scene, he'll start rolling, on an Area 3 high speed, it's going really loudly.
Yeah, I know.
And just running that film because you can't pay by the foot. That's how you made his money. It's kind of fun. And the sound guys would just throw their hands up in the air.
I know. He's the most energetic guy I ever met in my life. And he was driving the sound guys crazy because he had cameras from everywhere. He was bringing cameras out, like all these animal cameras, and puts them down. The sound guy saying, "When am I going to stand for the book?" Just said, "Hand on piano." So he puts cameras everywhere. So he has 8 to 10 cameras everywhere.
And if you're a grip standing. And if you're a grip standing next to a camera, can you shoot? Get that one and operate it.
Yeah. He drives. He was fun. It was fun watching him.
He was a fun guy.
Yeah. So,
okay, cool.
So that was basically how I started. I don't know what else to say about me, but that's how I started. I got into the film industry after I finished. I went to Simon Fraser University, where I studied communication and computer science. And so when I got out, I worked for the bank for a little bit, worked for the bank, and I just didn't foresee myself working for the bank. And so I went back to Vancouver Film School. We were one of the first students at Vancouver Film School. I think I was class 7. So we were the first year Vancouver Film School started. We were the first students at Vancouver Film School. So I went to Vancouver Film School. And after graduating from Vancouver Film School, I worked my way up, So I did a lot of volunteering and slowly got into the business as a grip and electrics. And I worked my way up, through becoming a gaffer and eventually becoming a DP. So it was a long process. Yeah.
How long did it take you how long did it take you to, from, I don't know, from when you started out to being a DP?
Well, the whole thing is that this is what I tell people, because I've mentored a lot of people in Vancouver. And so what I usually tell them, doesn't matter what you do, try and do the best. Be the best you can be at it. Because my story is just a good example. I'll tell you a story. When I started working as a lamp up, I finally, one of the gaffers, Mackay, I think he said Mackay, said to me, "You're a strong guy. Why don't you be the Jenny up?" And so Jenny up during that time requires cables. There was no cable truck. So you have to carry all the cables into the lay of the cables using your muzzles, right? So I did that, and I was very good at that. And I remember when I was working for Fox Network, I think it was, I can't remember, this was a long time ago. And one of the producers used to look at me. This was from Fox Network, used to look at me and say, "Oh my God, you are the strongest guy I've ever met. You are the most hardest working guy I've ever met." And he used to say that to me, but I don't understand what he meant by it. And so a year later, we were doing a show, and the gaffer for the show quit the show in last minute, just left. And so he came to me and says, "You're going to be the gaffer of the show." I said, "What? I've never done that before." I said, "So to me, I have watched you work. You're the hardest working guy I know. You can figure it out." And so I was thrown into being, gaffing for the show, which was like, I've never done it before, but I had to. And I was working with Bruce Water. Bruce Water was a DP during that time. He was an Irish DP, very nice guy that I worked with. So I was a gaffer for him. It was the first show that I did. So I had to work my way and figure things out. And through gaffing, again, I became one of the, from my point of view, the best gaffer that I know. I did the best I can. I worked so hard for it that there was no excuses. And so from gaffing, again, same thing happened with Adam's Family when Rod Parker's had to go for cancer treatment. And so the producer said to me, "Why don't you cover for Rod Parker until he gets back?" So I started deep in Adam's Family. I did 6-7 episodes for Adam's Family. And then the notes came from Fox Network saying, "Oh, the show looks pretty good. It's very beautiful. We like what you're doing." And I can't remember if they told Fox Network there was a new DP, DP. I can't remember if they told, if they mentioned to Fox Network that I was taking over. So when Rod Parker came back after 20 episodes later, they asked me to stay. They said, "Okay, you stay as a DP and you can alternate." So Rod Parker does one episode and one episode. So we end up, both of us, we did 80, I think it was 87 episodes that we did together. So the moral to the story is that whatever you do, I say to the guys, don't feel like, do it as your own. Even if you're like a lamp up or your PA, it doesn't matter. Just do the best you can, because you just don't know who is watching, right? Because I see a lot of people, they get lazy and they go, I'm just doing it because I'm getting paid very little. It doesn't matter. Just do the best you can. Just work as if the show belongs to you. Work as if you're the producer of the show, because in the end, you just don't know who's watching. And again, this is my story, right?
Yeah, having ownership.
Yeah.
Do the best you can. Every show, it doesn't matter what position you are, how much you're getting paid. Do the best you can.
Yep,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice. Having ownership, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, my name is Rion Gonzales. I've been doing this for pretty much as long as Anthony has been doing it. I started off at chemical engineering technician. Didn't like that. Went to art school and did a double major in film and photography, and got my first job as a PA as an art department PA. And I was told I was really, really slow. I didn't know what I was doing. I guess these guys, it was my first day. I had no idea what was going on. But I don't know, just moved on from that. Dave Yenny was sort of the first big break into the industry that I got, working as a fourth grip. And my job was the sandbags. We were doing a location. Our shoot was on location, and it was my job to make sure I collected all the sandbags. We had 148 sandbags.
Wow.
And they were mine. And and I had to. They would leave them everywhere, and I'd have to go running around and pushing through tall grass with this dolly and all these sandbags. And he used to test me every day and say, go get me the I don't know, the the 24 by 48 axe. Right? So I had to run to the truck and figure out what a 28 by 48 is. Like, it's that long black thing. Okay, great. So I learned a lot from him and learned how to cut and shape lights. That was the first thing I learned to do. And then I remember it was, I can't remember his name now. He's gaffing. I think he's the gaffer on Star Trek.
Frank Tata?
Frank Tata, that's right.
Yeah,
and he said to me, I watched him at the back of the tailgate having a beer in the middle of the day. And I'm sweating. I go, well, how can you do that? He goes, well, you're working like a dog. You should come over to the electric department and have some fun. And so then after that, I switched over to the electrical department and then started working with everybody's names. I'm gonna forget everybody's names now. Ira Cohen.
Yeah.
And lugging cables and 4-aught and
wow,
craziness like that. Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
He'd leave myself and Anthony Ellis and I think his brother to empty this whole set. It's all 4-aught. But we'd get it done. We'd work, we'd just wrap that cable and work and get that 4-aught up and in the trucks and then I started shooting and Blackwalk was my next big break. Shooting for Blackwalk. That was okay. That was fun. And then here I am now. I don't know, shooting commercials, working on Lock and Key as a second unit VP.
Was it work for Mark in Blackwalk?
For Mark?
Was it Mark, the owner of the Blackwalk? Was it Mark?
No. What's his name? Jeez, I should know his name. I see his face right now.
I thought it was Mark. Okay.
It's not Mark.
Yeah.
Jeremy, who is it? Text me. That's where I met Jeremy Benning and Little Cloud. Michael. What?
Michael Allard?
Michael. I don't know how to say that word.
Yeah.
Miko,
yeah. I think somebody says Mikael.
Okay, Michael Harley.
Michael Harley, that's it.
Harley, that's it. Yeah. He was fun. He knew how to work that system well.
Yeah,
Michael. Yeah.
Thanks, Jeremy. Michael Harley. Yeah, he was fun. He was awesome. I got to do a lot of stuff there, and we shot a lot of film, and that's how I started out. And then digital came, like you, Anthony. I bought I actually, the first camera I bought was the HVX 200.
Oh, okay.
But I bought a whole system because I knew the red one was going to come out, and I bought like all the accessories, like what do you call it? Matte boxes. But I bought an actual Swingway 5x5 matte box and a proper tripod and all that. And then when the red one came in, I was able just to replace that camera. And like you, upgraded to the Epic, and then from the Epic to the Dragon, and I got this amazing job shooting as an in-house DP for a pharmaceutical company, and we went everywhere in the US shooting these commercials for weight loss, and they paid for that camera like that. And then when so I got the Epic was paid for, and then literally the Dragon came out 3 months later, and I was able to pay for that like no problems. And eventually I didn't get the Monstro. Do you have the Monstro, Anthony, or do you have the?
No, actually, I didn't get the Monstro because some of the shows that I do, because you're shooting 8K. In fact, it was really difficult for me at the beginning to convince them to shoot 8K. Everyone wanted to shoot 4K because the post-production was thinking of the file. So of course I was stubborn. I kept saying, this is the camera I have. I'm not gonna get on that camera. You just gotta shoot 8K. So at some point we make a sort of compromise for them to shoot 6K, but I didn't like the 6K because you get this aspect ratio that, the lenses are just kind of, you know what I mean? If you have an 8K format and you're shooting 4K, it's just cropped. The whole thing is all cropped, and I didn't like it. So I shot 6K for a little while, for about, maybe half a year. And after, then I decided that, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to shoot 8K. So I forced them into shooting 8K. And my compromise was I shoot 8K at 10:1 compression. So they were happy with it. That's basically what I do. I shoot 8K at 10 to 1 compression, sometimes 8 to 1 compression if the post-production doesn't complain, right?
Right.
And so,
but do you have the helium? Do you have the helium sensor or the monster sensor?
Yeah, I have the helium sensor.
Right. Yeah. I just shoot 8K period. I don't even make any bones about it. I say, you know what, this is what it's going to look like. You can down res from 8K to 4K, and it's going to look way better. And so far so good. I've been able to convince people just to shoot 8K, and their eyebrows go up, but it works. Right?
Yeah. I will get to the monstrous if it becomes like a feature film, like a big budget feature film that requires that. But otherwise, I think the 8K epic, it's good enough for what we're doing right now.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's
my
amazing.
lenses, my lenses that I bought were Canon lenses, which I like. I just love those Canon lenses.
Oh, do you like those ones?
Yeah. Oh, they remind me of the lenses that I used when I used to use that. I do 35mm cameras or film cameras. They're very soft and they're very nice. So I own the zoom. I own all set of Canon lenses, all the prime lenses, and all the short zoom and long zoom. Which I use quite a bit for shows.
But they don't cover the helium though.
Oh, they do cover. They do cover the helium. Yeah, they do.
8K?
Well, they do. Like I've used them quite a bit. Like I've shot like almost like I don't know, maybe 25 movies with them already.
Right.
Using the lenses, and they do cover. Again, you shoot like you have to set up the again, shoot like HD, like like you organize in such a way that it meets the requirements. So, for example, the stuff that we deliver to Hallmark and Lifetime doesn't require big format, because it only ends up in the television. It ends up 16:9 on television. So basically, you shoot like 8K 16:9 format, so that works too, right? Yeah.
Right. Okay. Hey, we haven't heard from Keenan yet.
Hey, I'm Keenan. I've been shooting for about 5 years. Kind of, I wasn't really planning going into film originally. I wanted to do environmental science or something along the lines of that. But I was always interested in film, and growing up, my dad was a computer animator. So, that was always kind of in the house. And, so when I went to film school, I actually wanted to be a director. And it was kind of around the time when, DSLR started coming out. So, I got a DSLR and started shooting, and I found out really quickly I didn't want to be a director, and just kind of focused on being
Hey, Anthony, there you go. Good.
and I realized that I wanted to be a cinematographer, and went to Sheridan College. And when I graduated, I had a great internship at CERT, and I was doing high frame rate and 3D camera work with Bert Dunk CSC, and I learned a lot from him. And I thought that was going to be the future of filmmaking, was 3D and high frame rate. So, I learned all this great tech, and, we were shooting with 2 F-65s and the Tango 3D rig, and, everything had to be in sync. Everything had to be gen lock. So, I learned a ton there. And then when that job ended, when I finished school, I had to go freelance, and, I was first day seeing for a long time, and I was also gaffing. And when I was first day seeing, I met a DP named Nick Haight, who kind of took me under his wing, and, learned a lot from him. First AC did a bunch of features and projects with him, and just learned a lot, and broke off from that. And I was shooting my same things, like my own project at the same time, and then I just kind of was ACing, and then moved more so into gaffing in the last couple of years, and gaffing and shooting, and then now I'm just shooting. So it's been a journey, and it's taken a while, but I've hopped around the departments and learned a lot of skills, and it's been good.
That's cool. And well, I'll get back to you again, but I'm going to ask Rohan to introduce himself, and you can talk all about the days we used to work together.
My name is Rion Lawrence. It looks like I'm amongst giants right now, and you guys are like impressive. I am so impressed with you guys right now. It's like I am pretty excited. I'm pretty honored to be asked to do this. Rion, thank you very much. My name is Rohan, and I've been doing this for like, what I'm going on, about 24 years now in the industry.
Well, what have you been doing though? Let everybody know what you have been doing.
I've been working on nonstop in this industry. I'm
See?
one of the few lucky people that's been staying healthy and strong in this business. I haven't moved to the next stage, gaff, and I still do lighting, but I have not reached the next level as you guys have. But I enjoy what I do, and I enjoy working industry. It's been working with everyone that you guys pretty much mentioned. I did do Block Walk, work on Maestro Freshworks videos back in the days, and yes, work with Franco Tata, all those guys and stuff like that. So Rion, we met years ago, 20 some odd years ago, we met when we were both
as electrics.
As electric, so we have something to share, stories to share. But yeah, so at the moment right now, I'm working on a TV series called Why the Last Man, a Disney series, new series, and so far it's going pretty well right now. So, but yeah. So, anything else you want to ask me?
Well, I know. So you should probably talk about the fact that you gaffed a movie for me, TV movie for me last summer.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. I think it was like 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks altogether. Yeah, it was perfect. It was just like one of the first show to come back after during the pandemic. So when I post a few pictures from it, everyone was asking, "What are you working on? What are you working on?" Because there was no one else working except us. What I mean? It was just us alone working in industry, and people was wondering how it's going. So we set the protocol of how things are supposed to be done, and we're the guinea pig in the yeah, we pretty much set the precedent of how things supposed to be done on set and stuff like that. So, but working with Rion on this project was pretty awesome. Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. It was hard. It was a hard job, especially the locations that we had. With that church and moving 9Ks around, 9K cars around.
Yeah.
It was kind of nuts.
It looks really good too. I saw the movie. It looked really good.
Oh, good. You saw it.
Yeah, I saw it. Good. Yeah, it looked really good. Yeah.
Oh, so you're happy with it? Good.
Yes, I am. Good. Very, very, very happy.
Okay. I know we were supposed to talk. Well, there's a question here.
Yes.
I gotta open this up again. From Brian. Oh, from Kenya. So maybe this is for you, Anthony. I'm asking. There's not much of film resources. What should I look forward to, and is going abroad to increase my knowledge of film and photography? Is a good. So I guess Brian's asking if because there's not enough. He's from Kenya. Because there's not enough resources in Kenya for learning film. Should he go abroad to learn? What do you think, Anthony? You're muted, Anthony. You're muted. You got to unmute yourself. Yeah. You have to look at the microphone on the bottom.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, the whole thing is like I need to be very be very honest in this, right? Like he lives in Kenya. I mean, to travel abroad is very expensive, though. When you think about it, you got to find a place to stay. Unless he has the means to be able to find a place to stay and maybe survive a little bit while he's looking for work. But if that's possible, I say fine. But again, if you come say to Canada or to United States to work, you have to have a work permit to be able to work in United States and Canada. Or unless he wants to come in as a mentorship, which I do sometimes, where he comes and shadow, maybe a gap or shadow like a DP or shadow somebody, that could be done because that could be arranged. And so if he has the means to do that, then that's fine. But otherwise, what I would say is do what most people have done. Watch a lot of movies, watch a lot of shows, watch commercials, watch music videos, watch a lot of shows and watch them many, many times and watch them from lighting perspective, watch them from directing perspective over and over and over again. And this was what Tarantino did. Some of these guys, some of the best DPs, and what you do. You watch other people's work and you learn from it. You're trying to recreate it. And that's the best way. My big example is the best way to increase, this person's, what's this person's name? What's their name?
Brian, I think.
Brian, yeah. This is the best way to increase your knowledge of filmmaking is to watch a lot of movies. Watch many times, and and begin to identify things that you like. And then once you do your own show, try and recreate those moments or those moments that you like. And that's what I do sometimes. Depends on shows that I do. I watch other people's work and I like to create the same thing on the shows that I do. Right. And I'm pretty sure that most DPs and most directors did the same thing, right? We copy other people's work. And so my advice to you is watch a lot of movies and watch them many, many times and watch them from lighting perspective, from directing perspective, from wardrobe, from everywhere. And you learn by just watching, right? And then try and create your own shows in Kenya, because your cameras are very inexpensive today. Storytelling is, you can get a good story, a good script, and just try and do whatever you can to do it in Kenya, right?
Right. Here's a couple things. Whose phones were dinging? If you can shut that off, shut your notification off, that'd be great. And that's it. I agree with you, Anthony, because I remember when I was in school, I'd look at we used to get these tapes of all these great commercials out of Europe, and we try and figure out how it was done and how they recreate it and try to recreate these things in the school. Here's another question from Pearl, and maybe Keenan, you can answer this. Pearl is asking, I've been doing some stuff on my own, but when is the right time to start rolling down the camera track? And Pearl, I'm assuming when you say camera track, you mean being a DP? Keenan, you want to tackle that?
You know what, Pearl, I think just always be shooting. You know what, like the access there is to cameras now, it doesn't matter. Like everyone has a camera and you can always be shooting, but I still think it's good to get on set and, do other jobs on set and, learn through the system. Not saying necessarily you have to do it, but, there's always people that know more than you and they can teach you so much just working in those different departments and learning those little nuances of like each department and how they all work together. So it's a hard question because, there's never really a right time. Like kind of making that jump's a risk you got to take. And, sometimes, you take that risk and, you don't see any results for a while, it's a long grind. This isn't an industry where you can just, be like, I'm ready to be a DP and start shooting. It's something where you need to be connected with the right people. And some of it's just luck and chance. And there's never truly a right time, but when you feel like you're ready, I think it's probably the best time to do it. And there's no answer really for that. It's just it's kind of like a gut feeling, and you got to make the leap of faith and trust yourself and keep working at your craft. And even though you get shut down, just keep working on the craft and trying to gain skills and meet people.
I'd love to add to that. There's a couple things. One, Keenan's right. You should just do it, just like Nike. Just do it. Remember that. And definitely, you just story is everything, and just try to think of stories visually and do your best to visually represent the story that you're trying to tell. I mean, I think that's sort of the best way to do it.
No, exactly.
I think no more questions. All right. So I don't know. I think about what Rohan and I did last summer. It was a show called Will You Marry Me? Before this is called Will You Marry Me? And then they changed it into Christmas movie. It was
Okay.
a Bounce TV out of Atlanta, Georgia, which was, I feel very, very fortunate that I got that job, considering that it was a pandemic. And funny thing, I'd just gotten back from Costa Rica. I almost didn't make it out of the country because of the lockdown. And then I think 2 months later, I got a commercial, and then this movie came on, and then other things happened after that. But it was very, very cool. We worked with Megan Follows. She's the original Anna of Green Gable. She was directing this. It's kind of cool. I was really happy to work with her. She really, really pushed to try and make a very good movie and not, just sort of follow the numbers and just get it out. She worked very, very hard. The producer came to me and said, "Hey, look, you know what? I'd like to make this as BIPOC as possible. Can you help?" And I said, "Sure." So I phoned up Rohan. I said, "Hey, man, you want to gaff this job for me?" And he said, "Yes." And we talked to, what's his name? Why am I forgetting his name? The key grip. Gordon Clark. Yeah, Gordon Clark. Yeah, and he came on as a key grip, which was fantastic. and there's a lot. And the cool thing about this movie was that we had the support of the producers, which was really, really good. We had the support of Bounce TV, and then the situation became very different because you had actors for the first time. For them anyway, the first time when they looked out at the crew, they saw themselves.
Yeah.
I had one actor who was very emotional about it. Said, I've never experienced this before, and it makes me feel so good to be amongst people like myself shooting a movie. And I think that that was something that was an amazing experience to be able to share that. But if anybody wants to see it, it's on Bounce TV. I think you can buy it on for $4 on YouTube. YouTube.com is selling for $4, I think, or maybe Google Video or something. You can get it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what else to say, man. Like, this is it's Rohan.
There's a couple questions someone's asking. How do you gain confidence in a department head or leader? For me, being a gaffer is be sure of yourself. You know what I mean? You reflect back on your people around you and who want to work with you. So it's all about being sure of what you're doing, and that will help your confidence.
Yeah, for me is like you need to be comfortable with yourself. You need to be really comfortable with what you do. Once you're comfortable with what you do, then it just flows. Like, I mean, I've worked with a lot of places where people didn't know I was a Black person. They just don't know. Or work with people who come in and then they pump up their chest that they know better than you, and so you cool down and after a day or 2 days, you realize that you know what you're doing, and so they start listening to you, right? So you just have to be very comfortable with what you do, meaning that you have to know your stuff, right? You need to be comfortable with the equipment, the cameras, all the tools that you require to do the job, and then don't worry about other people that wants to make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. Just do your job, and it shows, right? So,
well, I had a little story to say, because I remember getting a show up in Sudbury, and the producer hired me first before they hired a DP. And so when I got there in Sudbury, checked into the hotel and went downstairs to meet him downstairs at the restaurant. He'd never seen me before, never heard of me. And when I walk up to him, the look he gave me, seeing a Black man come up to him, introducing myself to him and stuff like that, he kind of looked down on me, not too sure what to think, until by the end of the movie, he realized that he's like, I have to work with you again. You know what I mean? Everything went really good because people judge you, you know what I mean? And before they know what you can do. So sometimes you gotta be sure of yourself and know confidence in yourself and do the job, Yeah.
So, we've got a number of things to do. We really need to talk about long format versus short. But before we get into that, I'd like to add this whole thing about, I guess it was Joel's asking, who was it that was asking about that first question? Mike. Was it Mike? Anyway, I think it was either Mike or Mark was asking that question. Mark. So, I can tell you the story. I remember working with Eric Yalen and can't remember the DP's name now, but they asked me to gaff, and I said, yeah, I could do it. And I remember running down to William F. White's, and talking to the technicians. They go, how do you tie in? How do you tie in? they looked at me and shook their heads and thinking, and by the way, for those who don't know what tying in is basically getting these clamps that you go directly into an electrical bus and to gain power, bypassing the safety precautions and adding your own breaker bus at the end of that. So they said, this is what you have to do. And so I remember thinking, okay, so, getting cardboard and securing everything and then started tying in. And then I inevitably touched one of the poles and this big spark went. And I blew a bunch of stuff, and it took us an hour and a half to get more. Anyway, I didn't die. I'm still here. And,
that's
but but I learned my lesson. You just gotta be more careful, and that's when it was it was okay to tie in. Now it's illegal to do that. You have to get an actual electrician and shut power down, and get an electrician to tie in for you. And then you have to have a specific breaker box for every feet or whatever it is. Now I'm not doing that anymore. Roy could talk more about that. But you just got to, I can say, every job in the beginning that I had to take a big, deep breath, because I was walking into something I probably didn't know much about, and just do it. And like you say, I think just do your best and make sure, you act like it's your own movie, and that way, you get it done. If I can push this along, we'll get to some of these other questions a little bit later, but I'd like to, maybe Keenan, you can start us off on this. The difference between like short films. How would you describe working on a short project compared to a long project? I personally don't see there as much of a difference, because the process is still the same as far as I'm concerned. But Keenan, what do you think? How do you look at that?
Other than prep time, I don't know. I feel like I can experiment a little bit more. I can get a little riskier. I can, try some things that I normally wouldn't try, but, I can kind of push things a little further than I could in a long format project. And, I'm always trying different things on each short project I'm doing. Been shooting a lot of music videos as of recently. So I've been really trying new techniques and really trying to just learn and just really try different ways to approach different things, just to kind of learn from it. And, I find it's great because, it's like each project's its own look, and, it's like I'm taking my own aesthetic to each project, but I'm trying different ways and different approaches of how to approach the project. So I think it's like the best thing for learning and growth. And like all of those tie in to like doing a long format. So there's like different techniques from different projects. I can use all of those ideas and things I learned from those, and then put them towards the long format project. So that's how I see it more. But again, the prep process and everything is the same. It's just, less days, less amount of crew. You're still having a concept. You're trying to tell a story visually, and that aspect's all the same. But I definitely experiment and try new things a lot more on short projects.
So would you say because the shorter format allows you to experiment more in terms of new techniques and trying stuff, is it because there's just more money involved in a longer project and more responsibility that people sort of don't want to go break those lines of what's safe? Is that what you find?
So. Again, it's all dependent on the production and like who's involved. So I can't fully say that, but there is, you're doing a long format, you can't, you really have to have like a really set plan, I'll change things on the day more so on short form project than I will on long form, I just want to make sure everything's prepped as much as I can for a long format show. But when I'm doing short format, I don't know how to explain it, but I'm definitely a little bit more creative. I don't know how to exactly explain it, but yeah.
Okay. And do you see it the same way, Anthony? Short form versus long form?
I think the thing is like when you shoot like Hallmark, like when you do like Hallmark, Lifetime, or Netflix shows, right? There are certain expectations in terms of the look and the expectation for the look of the show. So you don't wander around too much, right? But when I do short movies, I have a lot of creative. I have a lot of creative input. I can experiment with a lot of different kind of lighting, knowing that there is no limitation to do that. And so I sometimes I enjoy doing shots, because with shots is like it gives you a new avenue to try new ideas, without having to have phone call from LA saying, well, this is too dark, or making some comment. I mean, I don't, I think you understand what I'm saying. So I like the shots. And also the shots for me is like, because it doesn't take a long time. Mostly sometimes like, a week or 2 weeks of show. So I like that. Even if you don't like the producer, it's not like people you're working with. It's not you're not sticking around with them for 6 months or 1 year. Which is some of the things I had. Some of the things I had, because I used to do a lot of TV series, and some of the things I hear about TV series is the fact that sometimes you have somebody who has like really bad attitude, and you have to stick with that person for a year or 2 years, and every day you see
Right.
them, and it's just like painful.
How true.
Whereas short is like even if you don't like them, you go, well, within a week it's gonna be over. So you just stick around, and within a week is over. You don't have to see them again, right?
Yeah.
So
There's a couple questions here, and there's a really good one, and I want to get through them. I'd love to get through them, but I'll just skip forward to Carolyn's questions asking, with all of our experiences, will you ever stop shooting shorts? And I'd like to answer that first. No, man, I'm dying to shoot a short. I've been texting people, emailing people. That like shooting shorts, I feel it can be a little bit more creative. There's less constriction. Yes. I feel, to make a really good short, people tend to sort of try to push the boundaries. And I'm missing that right now. I've been shooting quite a lot of commercials in the past, and some of them have been very, very good. I really love working with Charles Wall, because I find his work, he really puts a lot of effort into his creatives, and they tend to be like mini shorts. I find the good ones, the ones that when we're able to do it, it's great working with him. But I'm dying to shoot a short right now. I hopefully I get one sooner than later. But anybody else want to shoot shorts? Would you ever give up shorts?
I think if opportunity presents itself, I say yes. And I want to say something. I'm happy that I see you guys, all you guys, and I hope that we stay in touch, because there will be opportunities to go to Africa, which we're planning to go and do some, series and shows in Africa. And I'd like for you guys to keep in touch with me. We're planning something. So hopefully we'll have opportunity to do that probably at the end of this year, early next year.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. So stay in touch. Yeah.
Okay. You definitely will. Anybody else want to answer that shorts question? I mean, Rohan, have you ever worked at shorts? You must have.
Not much as you guys have, but I've done shorts, but I prefer long format because job security. Job security. I kind of like that, knowing that you're gonna get a paycheck. Yeah, you're gonna get a paycheck for the next 6-7 months. You know what I mean? Then you get a project. You know what I mean? But it's nice because usually when I do a short, it's always for somebody like a friend, and it's always pro bono. You don't really get pay from it, but you just do it because you care, you want to for your friend and help out a friend. But that's usually when I end up doing a short, not because it's I do love doing it, but it's not my first choice. Is that bad to say?
I mean, if you're working, you're working, right?
You
can't do it. But if you're not working, it's nice to sort of. I mean, like you, Anthony, I've got some gear. I don't have lights and Jenny's, but I've got camera and lenses. But the point is, if I'm not working, I'd rather be shooting something. And I prefer something more on the experimental, more on the creative side, because when you go to work, there's a very specific thing you have to do, and you're sort of constrained, and this is the box, and you have to stay within that box. Every so often you get to kind of tweak out of the box, but generally you're in the box. And I find that shorts offer you more leeway and more experimentation. I have to go soon, so I want to get through some of these questions, if I may, if you guys will indulge me. Mike is asking, how do you allow the work that you're hired for not dictate your career? I don't understand that. Mike is asking, how do you allow the work that you're hired for not to dictate your career?
I don't
not dictate your career. Well, I think what Mike is saying is the work that you do, that you don't get trapped into a specific job, like a specific genre of work. And I know in the past I've said no. There's quite a lot of jobs that will come up that I just, at one point when you start out, you kind of take what you can get. And and every transition, I tell this to everyone that I meet, anytime you transition into something else, you will not work, because people know you for one thing, but you have to sort of convince the industry that you can do other things. So at some point, whatever job you're doing, if you feel like you're getting trapped into a specific genre, you want to work in other genres, you have to be prepared to say no. And sometimes no is more powerful than saying yes. Do you guys agree?
Yeah, for me, it's been a little different, because when I started, I used to do a lot of TV series. I did Adam's Family, I did Hollywood of Ramp, I did all these TV series for Fox Network. And so everyone calls me for the TV series was then. That's all I did. And so after that, I started doing like, lifetime shows, like, lifetime drama shows, which I did for years. And then after that, I started sci-fi movies. I did sci-fi movies for 2 to 3 years. All I did was just sci-fi movies. I mean, for me, it wasn't an issue because the money, like you guys know, is you got to pay your bills, right?
Exactly.
So when the phone call comes and they're willing to pay you, I don't think you have the luxury of saying, "Oh, well, I gotta decide if I'm going to do this or not." I wish I had that luxury. So you take what is given to you, and I look at it as being, going to work and getting paid for it. So I did sci-fi movies. Now I did a lot of lifetime movies, a lot of lifetime Christmas. I must have done like, I don't know, 20, 30, maybe 30 Hallmark Christmas movies and lifetime. Yeah, I've done a lot of those things. So that's what I do. So my answer to this, the guy who asked the questions, don't be discriminative in terms of the shows that you do, as long as they're willing to pay you. If it's the shows that offer you and they're trying to say, well, do it for free, then you have the luxury of saying, well, I'm just going to do it because, you have that luxury. But if somebody has to pay you, has money to pay you, my advice is don't be discriminative in terms of saying, unless you have other options. Otherwise, do the show and get paid.
Right. I'm going to move on to, these questions are coming. Joel is asking, what lessons have you guys learned from one of your recent sets? Rohan.
What's the question again?
What lessons have you learned from one of your recent sets?
What lesson I've learned? I was learning every day. I was learning new things every day. Particularly one thing, that's a tough one. I'm gonna pass that one.
Okay, Keenan, I know you just had a project that you've learned a lot, especially about shooting on a stage that's on a theatrical stage as compared to shooting on a cinema set. Any lessons learned there?
Yeah, for sure. Stage lights, a lot of them don't have the same quality of light. I was losing it just with like some color cast that some of the lights were going, and it's something I'll be prepared for in the future. But I recently had a camera issue where it wasn't really a camera issue, but it was we were shooting projectors, and just the color gamut and color space of the projector was giving us banding. And the camera is an 8-bit projector, so we were getting color banding because of that. So I was thinking it was a shutter degree angle problem why we were getting the banding in the camera, and I spent did research trying to figure out what the shutter degree angle is, and I did the flicker free, and we were shooting 60 frames per second, and I was trying to figure out what was causing the banding. And then I was talking to my gaffer, and he was kind of also doing some projection things. He does more stage light, kind of show type of shows. So we ended up realizing it was the color space was an 8-bit color space for the projector. So that's why we're getting the banding. But there's always something, and it's just you got to be on your feet, and you have to be, and just unfortunately you got to figure things out. And that's half of this job is just problems come your way, and you just got to figure it out, and call who you know, and just find answers or figure out alternatives of how to get whatever needs to be done.
Right. I'd like to add this to you, Joel, as well. Is I'm working as a second-year DP, C camera operator in Lock and Key Netflix TV series, and I had the opportunity to work with Mark Tonderai and Dylan McLeod and Michael Marshall. One of the things I learned is how Mark Tonderai uses lenses. I've always used an 18mm lens because we need to fit certain people in the frame. Mark does it differently. His lenses, for him, they need to tell a story. They need to tell part of that story. It's part of this storytelling. It's not about just capturing the image. It's about how do you tell the story with that specific lens. A wide lens to him is about showing the breadth and space of the environment that you're shooting in. It's not just to fill to make sure you get everyone captured. It's about getting wider to put your actors in the environment, and then have that environment help tell that story about what's going on in that scene. And I remember him asking me, what's your favorite lens? I said, well, 65, because 65 is not as tight as an 85. It's great when you're doing things at a table. You can get, it's still a telephoto, but it's not so tight that it constricts. He says, well, it's not bad, but he will use that depending on how he wants to constrict the actors. The 65 constricts the actors so much, and he'll go to 85 when he really wants to constrict their movement. And then one of the things he's been using, which I totally just, I love it, and I hope to use it, when I start shooting one of my own projects, is 100 mil macro, and how he gets in close and uses it for intimate moments with an actor. When an actor is going through stress or an emotional, I hope he doesn't mind me telling people this, an emotional situation, he'll go handheld, he'll get that 100 mil macro, and he'll go right into their face or their hands or whatever it is they're doing. And when you see that stuff, it's just, it's beautiful. It's amazing. So that's one of the lessons I learned from this show, is how, other than really cool lighting techniques, but yeah, for me, that was the one that really struck me hard, as the use of lenses to ensure that they are not just capturing an image, but they're actually they're part of telling the story. And yeah, I hope to use that. In my own shows.
Yeah. I agree with you. Lenses, that's how you tell a story, is using the lenses, and you get a script, and the idea is to be able to do a visual representation of what the script is saying. And so in order to do that, you use lenses to draw the audience in, to be able to observe the emotional content of the actors, right? So I totally agree with you. It's like, lenses. You look at some of the shows that I do, we do a lot of wide shots, but the wide shots, like, again, just to establish, where the scene is taking place. Then you move into close-up shot, and you move in closer as the emotion becomes intense, because you want to get into their eyes, you want to see the emotional expression, you want to see all the wrinkles in their faces, you want to see the content of their character. And so that's why you use long lenses to get in there. And at the same time, when you're working with older women, there are lenses that you have to use in order to make sure that you don't get too close, because when you get too close, then you begin to see all the wrinkles and all the imperfection in their faces, which becomes a big issue. I mean, I'm pretty sure you're laughing because you've dealt with this issue many, many times before. And so lenses can be, so you have to figure out what lenses work for them. What lenses work for them? What kind of lighting do you have to use for them in order to make sure that you minimize those imperfections that drives them crazy, So these are the things that you do by watching other people's work and see how did they deal with this, elderly, actress. How did they deal with it? How did they manage it? And this is one of the things I said in the beginning, is that you have to watch a lot of movies. Whatever situation you find yourself, watch to see how other DPs and other shows have dealt with it, and you copy from them.
Yeah, right? And don't be afraid to call DPs, because I remember it's a good situation. I won't mention the actor's name, but Doug Coe was shooting this actor on a different show, and we were shooting here in a commercial, and so I said, wow, well, Doug's shooting her. I called up Doug Coe. I said, hey, Doug, it's Rion, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. How are you lighting and shooting this person? And he gave me what he was doing. And so I ordered that gear, and sure enough, I got called into the makeup room. Yeah. I had to sit down in conversation with this actor. And they said, well, this is how I like to be lit. And I said, no problems. We're ready for you. We got it. So do your research and call other DPs, because if you know someone that you're going to be working with, and someone else has worked with them, by all means, reach out to other DPs. Most DPs will say no problems, and they'll share that information with you, because why not, right?
Yeah, I have many calls from people asking how, and I was glad to tell them, because I mean, this is we are all on this together, and especially for Black and minority DPs, we are there to help. You can call me or send me a text. I will do whatever I can to help, and so the idea is, especially now that there is this push to bring in more diversity into the filmmaking. So this is the opportunity to be able to reach out to other DPs that have had fortunate enough to be in this business. We will be willing to do whatever we can to help.
Well, I'm working right now with Kara and Kelly. Have you guys heard of her?
No, who's that?
Yeah, she's a African female director, African American female director, DP, and yeah, so it's the first time working with her. She's one of the first lady of color I've worked with as a director photographer. So
Okay.
and it's very impressive. I'm very impressive. I think she's one of the
What's her name?
Cara Kelly.
Oh, Kelly. Okay.
Yeah.
She's in Toronto, right? Toronto?
No, she's American, but she's shooting right now. She's shooting in Toronto right now, but
Okay,
she's American. But yeah, so it's very impressive. And I heard of Catherine Lutz.
Yeah.
She's she's a second DP, so the alternate DP.
Wow.
So it's two female DPs in
that's awesome.
our show. Yeah, so it's very impressive. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Moving on, because again, I gotta leave. Raymond is asking, could you share the story when you finally hit the next level, the level of stepping into your first big budget project, and how you were discovered to do the gig? Wow, that's two big questions. So, like, could you share a story when you finally hit the next level from Raymond? I still don't think I've hit the next level. I'm still working towards that level. You're always working towards that level. And the level of stepping into your first big budget project. I don't know, man. I'm still working at it. As far as I'm concerned, I'm always striving for more. Keenan, what do you think?
Like, what was my first one?
Yeah. When was your what was this? It says, ask, can you share your story when you finally hit that next level? When do you think you finally hit that next level?
When you feel that you arrived.
Yeah, you know what?
I'm still arriving.
I feel like, there's always different levels, and you know what, you're always climbing up and you're hitting different milestones. But I know one of my first bigger shoots was, there's just people I knew, people I went to school with. They liked my work, and they called me up for this Martin Garrix and Khalid music video, and almost zero prep. I think they called me on a Friday. We were shooting in this warehouse in Hamilton. We were shooting on Monday, and we had to build these huge sets, and the pixel tubes just came out, so we hung 30 pixel tubes from the ceiling, and we built this LED light box with I think four S4s, light matte S4s on top, in a grid, and just we did some cool visual stuff. But I thought after I did that job, this is a cool job, this is the next level. I'm I'm gonna get so much work after I do this. And I finished the job, the video came out, and I'm okay, I'm ready. And then crickets. And I'm oh. I'm okay. But that's the thing. It's I don't think there's really sometimes there isn't a moment, sometimes people will see your work later, and then they'll hire you from that. So again, your work always lives on, and it's just because you did the most recent job, that's not going to be the reason why you get hired for your next one. It is sometimes, but sometimes someone can stumble upon your work and see something you shot 3 years ago, and the visual approach you took to that project. So, and again, every DP has their own set of goals and values, and what they want to achieve with their career. And I don't think there's really you've made it, you haven't made it, It's just wanting to shoot the types of projects, and it's always a strive. You're always striving to become better at, visual storytelling, and it's always changing. So I hope that answers your question with Raymond.
I'm gonna go over to Devin. Carrington says hello, Anthony. Said you mentioned him.
Oh yeah, Devin was my mentor. He's DPing right now. I'm so proud of him. Right, he was when he was in high school. He came in. I mentored him. And so I'm so happy that his career is going very well. So I'm proud of you, Devin.
Good. Michael, I guess this question is directed to me. Is asking. He's primarily interested in shooting commercials. Is there any advice that I can give to someone interested in becoming commercial DP? Wow. I also teach. I'm not sure if everybody knows this. I teach at George Brown College, and I tell my students, whatever group you're with, try and stick with that group, and because you have to help each other out. I find that more likely than not, people who are directing are the ones that move forward. And if the director and a DP combo can if the director can help the DP, they will help them move up. That's how I kind of did it, sticking by specific directors and trying to work with them as much as I can and getting work. And just knowing, I don't know, that's a really hard question because I really don't know how you do it. You just have to shoot as many shorts and shoot as many concept videos as you can and try and get a reel and push it out there. But it'd be great if you could work with someone who's directing, if you're not directing yourself, because I find they're the ones that are looked at first and then they look for DPs. It's a tough, long, for me anyway, it was tough, long, and hard. And usually it's about timing. You have to be in the right place at the right time with the right person and know the right people. That's my experience. It's all timing. Blake is asking, what are the big challenges when filming a feature? Well, I know Rohan and Anthony are going to have something to say about that for sure. Rohan, let's start with you. Let me start with Rohan. It says, what Blake is asking, what are the big challenges when filming a feature?
Well, is this okay? Go ahead.
Let me let Rohan start because I know Rohan's gonna have a very specific. Because I can see the juxtaposition from DP and gaffer. So Rohan, what are the big challenges?
Big challenges is that everything obviously it's a larger grandstand of. But I think the challenges for us is so much has to be done. Everything's bigger. More money to spend. Everything's larger crew. Just everything just seems on a bigger scale. In that sense of the logistics is more complicated than just working on something smaller. Working a feature. And you get more time. They give you more time to do things. Nothing's rush. Everything is small. Everything just takes time, and no one's going to say, "Guys, we got to go. We got to go." Everything's just all about just like time is everything. Not time. It means just like everything just on a slower, just take time.
What's it like when you're ordering gear? You're working with a DP. The DP says the director comes out. The script comes out. The director looks at the script. Director and DP talk about the script and how they want to do it. DP says to you, "Okay, Rohan, this is my concept. Get me a package because this is how I want to do it." And then they'll say, they might have specific lights they want to use, but generally speaking, this is the concept. How do we do this? How do you work out in your mind with your experience how you help the DP order gear for that shoot?
From my experience is that I usually figure what some DP has a certain type of light what they like to use, and I just go with that. I just figured how we like things to be. Some people like hard lights, Some DP like use sky panels and all these 18Ks or whatever it is. So you're just kind of trying to feel what a DP likes to use, and you have a good conversation with them on how he likes to light, and let's go with that. That makes sense.
But do you ever make any suggestions yourself?
I try not to make suggestions.
What?
Some DP doesn't want you to make suggestions. Sometimes they have a certain, they have a certain look of what they want, and they know exactly what they want, and you're gonna go with that.
You made suggestions to me.
I do. I do.
Anthony, so what's your take on this? How do you prepare for a long format shoot?
Well, in addition to what he says, when I started, we used to do shows where we are shooting for 30 days. This was when I started, we used to together like movie of the week. We used to shoot like 30 days. This is how long it takes to shoot 30 days. And so that means that we shoot like 3 pages a day, right? With 3 pages a day, you can make mistake. You can set up the whole lighting, and go, well, I don't like it. And then you change it. I remember when I started, we used to wait for the sun to be perfect before we shoot, and we wait for hours. because I knew we were shooting like 3 pages a day, maybe 3.5 pages a day. So we wait for 2 hours until the cloud clears or the clouds coming in or until the sun sets. It depends on what the script calls for, we wait. And so the answer to the question is that when you're doing like big budget shows, you have time. You're shooting like 2-3 pages a day. So you can take your time to look at stuff and make changes and put in backlights and rim lights and all kinds of stuff that and use light to shape them the way you want it because you have time. Yeah. And most times too, when you finish lighting, the actors come in for what we call lighting tests or makeup tests. They come in and they sit in and watch you have the lighting, react to the makeup, and you make changes. They go back to makeup. So by the time you get your shot, it's almost like 2.5 hours, sometimes 3 hours before you get your shot. There was a luxury during that time. And this is luxury of big budget show. I mean, it's still done like that in big budget shows. But for little shows like Lifetime and Hallmark, you have 3 weeks to do. You have 3 weeks to do. And most times you're shooting 8-10 pages a day. You don't have the luxury of making mistakes or making changes. You have to get it right the first time. And there's a lot of pressure to get it done, to finish and to make out there. And so that's difference, with doing a big budget show and shows that are big budget shows and a small budget show. It's just the luxury for time, right? And the fact that you have the means to order what equipment that you want. You can order whatever you want. You can order as many 18Ks or whatever you want. You can have like a lot of crew members to set it up. We used to have like a team and B team and some C teams to go and set up lights and set up before we get there, right? So that's the difference. Is that you have right. money to be able to hire the equipment and the crew members to get the job done. Right?
Okay. So you guys are gonna have to deal with the other questions. I have to go. I have another appointment coming up. But what I'd like to do before I go is, if it's possible, I'll just like to show at least the what do you call it, the promo for the piece that Rohan and I worked on in the summer, if that's okay with you guys. Yep. Is that cool with you guys?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So here we go. I'm showing it now. I think sharing. Here we go. So Rohan and I worked on this this summer.
Also by Rion. Rion, you want to talk us through it a little bit?
And that was it. You guys see it? I didn't see it show up. Did that work?
Well, it was fast forwarding. It wasn't really.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Anyway,
but he made the point. Yeah.
That's good. So for anybody who wants to ask me further questions, more than welcome to email me. I think Jeremy and those guys could put up my email if you guys want. But I do have to go. I'm sorry. It was really nice meeting you all. I mean, Keenan, we've talked on the phone many times. Rohan, it was good to see you again. And Anthony, I'm so happy to have met you. By the way, you were Jeremy Benning discovered you when they were redoing the website, the CSC website. I said, "Oh my God, look, this dude! What guy? Do you know him? I don't know. Who is this guy? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
So
let's stay in touch. Let's stay in touch.
Yeah. It was so exciting to know that you're out there, Anthony. Right now, all I've been talking about is Ricardo Diaz, the other black cinematographer out of Toronto. There's Jordan Oram, who shot Saw last 2 years ago, 2 summers ago. So he's doing well. I think he's on to Porter right now. But yeah, there's a few of us. I'd love to meet up with you guys again, and we'll stay in touch. Yes. Thanks, guys. I'm signing off.
Thank you.
Somebody take over the questions. There's a few. For those who want to ask me any other questions, Jeremy, maybe you can put my. Is that a bad thing? Because I have a million people emailing me all the time now. Is there a better way to do this? You know what? Contact me on Facebook. I'll do the Facebook thing. God, I hate Facebook. Anyway, I'll do the. I shouldn't say that, I guess. I'll do the Facebook thing, ask you questions, and I'll get back to y'all. Okay. Have a good one, guys.
All right.
Sure. See you.
Okay.
Peace.
Cool.
Bye, Keenan.
All right.
See you.
Anthony, you want to take over?
Well, okay, sure. So let's see the question. The next question is let's just see. Somebody, I think what Jared wanted to ask about, talk about resilience in those tough times. How do you deal with tough time? I mean, I guess his question is that being a visible minority, getting into the film industry, how do you deal with your toughest time, or can you recall your toughest time in the industry?
Honestly, as of recently, I think the hardest time I've honestly had was, during that first lockdown. Everyone's been pretty busy. I was pretty busy, and you know what? It was the first time in a long time where like life stopped. Not life stopped, but work stopped. And there's this kind of uncertainty that was going around, and it kind of gave me a second to kind of take a seat back and realize what I really want. And I got really back into photography, which I haven't done in a while. I was just taking long exposure shots on my medium format camera and just looking at different scenes and different times of day and just waiting for the sun to be right. And I'd take a shot, and sometimes I'd go to certain spots and I'd see it and the light wouldn't be right. So it was just nice being able to take all the pressure off, take the time and just really think what I want. So when work did pick up, it was really nice. But that was definitely a more recent time where it's been, hard, and everyone in the industry is experiencing the same thing as well.
I think for me, the toughest time was during SARS. I think it was 2001. I'm not too sure. I think maybe a little later, maybe 2002. It was difficult back then because I think Toronto only had one show going in the entire city, and no actors wanted to come to Toronto to shoot at the time. So that was a tough time. It was more tougher then than it is this pandemic, because the government is there to help people out this time around. Last time during the first pandemic, they weren't helping anyone. So you have to fend for yourself. So I find it difficult back then than it is now. And it was a worldwide thing now. Back then it was just in Toronto, Ontario. So we felt the brunt of it. Everyone was working in North America except Ontario. So it was difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's been. You see, this was the reason why I bought my own equipment. Most people say to me, "Why do you own your own equipment?" It's I invested in it long time ago simply because it's the money that sometimes we make is not that much. I mean, it's much. It's a lot. In comparison to a lot of the rest of Canada. But because our business is ups and downs. It's it's not consistent. You don't know when you're gonna work next year, when you're gonna work next. And so sometimes most people have the luxury of planning, having 2 or 3 shows in advance where you can go from one show to the other. But in most cases, it doesn't work that way in the film industry. Yeah. So what most people do is you try and save money, or try and see if you can do when you're working, try and make some investment in some equipment that allows you to be able to make a little bit more money, and make sure that you invest that money wisely for the for the rough time, because rough time comes in this business. having been one of the oldest guy in here, having been in the business for the longest time, I've seen like writer strike, I've seen actor strike, I've seen so many different strikes that goes on. And sometimes this goes on for 1 year. So for 1 year, there's absolutely no work to do, unless you have some other things you can fall back to. So there's absolutely nothing to do. So you're trying to wait around and try and do whatever it takes to survive until the business gets back into fold. And so the things that I say to my guys that work the guys that work for me is like, once what is going good, make sure you save your money, make sure you're able to get yourself an apartment, invest in a house, invest in an apartment when you have the money, right? And then do some investment so that think about it as this is not going to last. Think about it as it's not going to last forever, right? And just try and be wise and be smart in terms of how you invest your money. Right,
Okay.
when things are going good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we got another question here. This is DPs rarely work with each other, and it's just talking about just having camaraderie with other DPs, and just the competitive nature, which I don't think there really is. So it's just like, how do you really like talk to and communicate with other DPs? I guess I'll start off first. I guess recently it's been a little bit easier just to communicate with other DPs, and with social media, especially Instagram, it's easy to see other people's work, and it's easier just to communicate with other DPs. So I find that if I like another DP's work, I'll talk to them. And I've been reaching out to more people and just trying to see advice and just see their approach, just because I think for a long time there is, at least for me, there's like, it was kind of like a secretive thing. Like as a DP, you're the only person on set, so you're never going to interact with another DP on set. But so I don't know. I find with social media, it's a lot easier to communicate with other DPs, and I don't think it should be seen as a competition. DPs are chosen for a certain reason. There's different stories, and people have different approaches and different life experiences that will go towards telling the right story. Recently, I've been more picky about what projects I take on, because sometimes I'm not the right person to tell a certain story, because it just doesn't 100% connect with me. So I don't know, Anthony, how do you feel about this one? Just communicating and building camaraderie with other cinematographers.
Well, for me, it's like I'm pretty. I've had other DPs call me and ask me, mostly in terms of night shooting, and ask me questions about how to do something. And I usually find it very very humble that I get this call. I get this call sometimes, most of the times, and I tell them what I did, and I give them advice on what to do to make the story work. So I think it's you're absolutely right. There is a lot of competition because there's only one DP on any show. There's just one DP in any show, so there's a lot of competition. But at the same time, there's also a lot of people getting together to talk about stuff. Like I have friends with a lot of DPs that I know that we talk about things, and sometimes I've asked questions from some other DPs that when I started DPing, I used to call some other DPs, friends of mine that I've worked with in the past, and ask them questions about how to make something work. Or I reach out through social media, to ask questions. I think if you do ask questions, people will be humble enough. You will find it a little humbling that you are able to reach out and they'll be able to respond to you. I mean, this is a human nature, despite the fact that we all compete to get these jobs.
No, exactly. I definitely agree with that. Like this summer, I guess because of the pandemic, I've been biking. So there's a couple cinematographers in the city I've just been biking with, and
nice.
Before this year, I definitely wouldn't have done that. But like work's been slower, and it's like I have time, so it's actually been a little nice to actually connect with other cinematographers and other creatives, just because this is a busy industry. So when you're busy, it really becomes your whole life. So it's been nice to be able to build friendships and be able to communicate just past film. I have a question for everyone here, just about just lighting approaches or dogmas. Again, I mostly do short format projects, and one of the things I've realized is that recently I shot a project, and I guess Rohan, you can do this. I'll talk about this as well, but we only use soft light, and it was kind of one of the things we wanted. It was supposed to be kind of like a dream world, just the seeing of a relationship. So that was one of the vendettas we made, is in this world there's only soft light, and really soft light, very single source kind of look. And And it was interesting working with my gaffer and just talking about just like the approach. So have you ever had experience with that where like you had like a strict lighting approach and you collaborated with your gaffer or cinematographer with it?
Yeah, I have. I did a project with this DP from LA, and he preferred want to use just work lights. That's he wanted to light this show with work lights. You know, those actually location work lights. That's what his entire show was used to light with that type of stuff. That's the look he want, and he give him a certain look of the show, and that's all of the movie, and that's all he went up using. Obviously, there's other lights, but the main light was that using for the actors was that work lights, and you know, we make some with you can dim it, you can control it, but stuff like that. But it has that grittiness to it, and that's what he likes. So yes, there is you know, yeah, it can work that way.
Do you ever like diffuse it or anything, or like come in and cut it, or was it just like raw work lights and like you would dim it down?
Yeah, we have diffusion to it. We have stuff to it, and you know, shape it, and yeah, we do, but we still use it. We still you know, do the same work as if it was other lights, right? But it was just work light. It was just using. We're just kind of, it was different. I've never seen that before. You know.
Yeah. I've done that before in mostly like I did that quite a bit on Holiday, which was a TV series that I did for Hallmark, and this is more like a police story, like you know, so you get to a scene in the middle of the forest where, you know, some bodies were discovered, you know, so the police comes in and set up this walk light. So basically what I do is like I go into, this is a huge, big forest, right?
Yeah.
You set up all these walk lights all over the place. And so you lit with the walk lights, you know, and sometimes you put like bounce board on the ground just to bounce the light up, you know, strategically placed so you don't see it. And so it gives you this authentic look, this kind of organic and authentic look of a police scene. Right, so that to me looks really nice because you look at it, it looks warm, it looks nice, it looks authentic, it looks organic, and it feels good.
Yeah, the rawness works. Yeah.
So I have another question here. This is a question for me. Just you know, you've both been working in the industry for such a long time, and you know, during this time, we've switched from film to shooting digitally. Have you found that your lighting approach has changed in that time based on, obviously because of the exposure, the sensitivity of the cameras?
I mean, go ahead, Anthony.
I can start because I shot a lot of films. I was one of the DPs that shot the last Fuji. In fact, I remember years ago, Fuji gave me 10 rows of, you know, I think it was 10 rows of Fuji films that they gave to a lot of DPs that shot a lot of Fuji and Kodak films, right? So when you're shooting films, it's about exposure. Exposure is very important when you're shooting film because if you don't have enough light, they don't have any exposure. You know, so you're dealing with you're dealing with your light mirror to make sure you get if you're shooting 2.8 or 4-stop, you make sure that you get enough light to be able to expose the film. Whereas when I started shooting digital cameras, my light mirror just went away. I don't use light mirrors because I use my eyes and I use my direct DP's monitor, you know, which is my monitor. So I use my eyes to gauge, and because the digitals have a lot of resolutions, I have an 8K camera, which is a very high resolution camera. And so what it does that any imperfection in your face shows. so it's not very friendly to older women, you know. So what you do is like you need to use soft lighting, because if you don't use soft lighting, then it sort of magnifies those imperfections, right? In some cases, there are some cases that require hard lighting, but most cases it requires soft lighting and some diffusion in the camera, you know, to soften it, otherwise it becomes too harsh lighting, right? So answer to your question, there's difference. It's still the same. The look is still the same. The look is just the look that you still see the same, but the approach, the way you get the look is different, right? Yeah. And because digital cameras, you know, especially the red cameras, they're very sensitive. So what I find is that when you underexpose, is actually better than overexposing it, right? You know, so you can underexpose a little bit in order to get the shadows, you know, the dark spots that you want. You need to really get the light completely off that in order to get those shadows. Otherwise, it's going to be all washed out. Whereas in the film, is different, because in film, it's like, you know, you have to light those shadows if you want to see. Otherwise, it gets pitch black. And if you don't get the correct exposure, you're not gonna get it. The image is gonna look pretty dark, and there's no way to recover it because it's gonna be all grainy, right?
Yeah.
And so digital for me is very forgiving.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I worked on a TV series called Listener, and it's ever heard of, and you guys probably know David Green, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know
David Green.
Yeah.
And I remember shooting with him and having like a T12 come through a window, then probably a fire starter with a T12 to you could get another hit somewhere else in that room, and then you got another light coming in, and so you got these three sources coming in, and it's like to from then to now to like having like a sky panel and probably doing this almost exact same scenario or Titan tube, you know what I mean? So there's less to lighting you need, but get the same result like you're saying before, right? So that's the thing's different now. It's just say you don't need as much now, less power. Most stuff you can just plug into a wall and outlet and power and light a set, then a Jenny and running 4 rods all over the place. Yeah, so it have changed quite a bit, you know.
Another change is that I just ordered some lights from China, which these are 4K. You know how you used to have 9 lights and 12 lights? Yeah. So ones that I just got from China, I have four lights, which is 4K lights. You plug it into the AC. Wow. Right, even the 12 lights you plug into the AC power. Yeah. No, I say Gaffer, like with 12 lights you require a generator. 12 lights, actually 10K lights is probably 100 amp, so you require like a big generator to run them. Yeah. So I have 4 of them that I can plug into AC power now, and you can control. My Gaffer has iPhone, so he can control the brightness of this light through his iPhone. In fact, all the digital light he has in iPhone. So I say, I want to dim it down. She just dim it down, right? So I want to add 2500 Kelvin. Yeah. So this is where the technology is going in the future. Gaffers and the DPs, we have the iPad where they can control all the lighting through the iPad instead of having to put a screen or gels in the light. Yeah. Those days are gone. They're just going now. So
look at like some of these new guys that are coming in the industry now. They have no idea what a gel is. You get a cut of gel or use a C47. They have no what is this? What does this do? They have no idea.
It's changing. Yeah.
So I recently shot a music video this summer, and I kind of like started shooting in the digital age. So a project came up to shoot on Super 16, and kind of the concept of the project was to shoot through two-way mirror glass. So I was talking to the manufacturer, and I'm like trying to figure out what the stop loss would be through the glass. And they're like, yeah, it'll be about like half a stop. And I'm like, okay, perfect, half a stop. So I do my lighting plan. I get there on the day with my spot meter. 5 stops of light. We're shooting 500 feet. I'll do a screen share here. I'll show you what I ended up doing. But yeah, it was I almost had a heart attack. But yeah, so basically it's two-way mirror glass, but I lost 5 stops of light through the glass. So I ended up putting 2 T5s and I think 4 2K blondes on top of a silk, just to get an exposure of like a 2.5 at 500T. Like we lost so much, and it was, it was one of those things where it was like I was so used to the sensitivity of like I was so used to the sensitivity of digital cameras, and it was interesting. Like thank God I was in the studio. I had the fixtures, but it was the first time I've ever come into something like that where it's like, wow, I may not have enough to get exposure, where I've kind of like been in an era where, the cameras are so sensitive, and they're getting more sensitive every year. It's just like what cameras can pick up in the shadows. It's really becoming quite impressive. So, I find that it's just, I just couldn't believe the amount of light. Like again, there was 5 stops of light lost through the two-way mirror film box. But,
yeah. Wow, impressive.
Keenan, can you put the image back up on the screen again? People will just ask me to see it.
Yeah. So that was it. Oh, also the reflection.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, Keenan. I think you're in the wrong box. We're not seeing the image. We're just seeing the thumbnail. So you might have to unshare and then show just the image.
Oh, I see. but no one's been able to see it. Okay. Can I see it now?
Yeah, we can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
so
pretty cool.
yeah, and then we had to black out the top of it as well. There's like an oven in there, honestly, because we had the duve and the solids all around top to get the reflections of this 360 dolly that's going around. So I felt bad for talent because it was literally like an oven inside of there. Oh, I guess I'll share. I pulled a few things to share. When I guess another thing I did recently is, again, I mainly focus on short format right now, and I have done long format, but basically I recently did a music video, and I guess the concept of the video was the whole music video was going to be point of view, and it was kind of following the eyes of Malcolm X and going through some experiences of life. And that was kind of like a visual language we came up with the director. And I remember we were shooting in a church, and like the talent we got looked a lot like Malcolm X. And I kept seeing kept shooting shots from behind him, and I'm like, wow, this looks great. Like, I'm really loving it. But, you know, it's just one of those things where we kind of built this visual language, and, you know, it didn't fit the story. And like, I think that's like an important thing to realize, is just like, you know, it's not about creating beautiful images. Like, you strive to shoot beautiful images, but it's like the best images that you can use to tell a story. So I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna do another screen share quickly. Can everyone see this?
Yeah, it's there. We see it.
Okay, I'm just gonna play. I'm not gonna play all of it, but I'll play. It's a short project.
Talk us through it, Keenan.
So yeah, this is like a Ronin backseat, just like doing a 360. But yeah, the Ronin barely fit in the back seat of the car we ended up getting. But this is like mostly natural light, just sun was setting, so it's kind of a race. So yeah, basically, I think we ended up shooting all of this on a 32 mil. I found there was a good kind of range to represent the human eye that's not too wide and too tight. And yeah, it was just like, it was nice because we were able to take the time for each shot, and like the full edit worked out in a way where each shot was kind of planned out before. So we actually, like, once we had the scene, we were able to rehearse and come back to it and like really nail down the performance, just because we didn't have a lot of coverage, because going into the project we knew that we only had so many shots. So I'm not going to show the whole thing, but yeah, it was a really nice experience working on that one. And it was kind of limiting being only shooting through the POV, but I think it was a great way to tell the story, and it worked really well. And again, because of that, we didn't have coverage, so we were able to really focus on the shots we wanted and really dial them in. And, you know, there's definitely a mood, and we wanted to keep it, I guess, like very genuine, and like not make it too glamorous, and just make it feel lived in and feel natural and make the world feel real. So again, like, we had shots where we did show more of them, but it just was a lot more powerful, just keeping it through the eyes and the experience of the project.
Okay. I think somebody was asking me questions about lights. You know, the lights that I was talking about is Lightman Lucid. They come in 4 lights. I think they also come in 8 lights, 12 lights. They are made in China, and their idea is to replace the original 9 lights and the 12 lights. And all these lights you plug right into the wall, right? And the other light I was talking about is Aperture Nova P300C, which is a light made in China, and I just love it. I own most of these lights, and I just love them. They're just like unbelievable lights. So I don't know if you guys use them in Toronto, but they're just beautiful lights that I use. I own them and I use them on my show. There's also the forking eye, which is the lights that looks like you fold them up into shapes that you want them. They come like almost like a cloth, and then you can, put them wherever you want them. I just love them because for backlighting or for whatever, you can actually tape them right into the ceilings, or fold them up and put them in the corners and stuff. And they can also be battery operated. And so these are lights that I made in China, the forking eyes. I just love them. It was the first time I bought them last year, and I just fell in love with them because they're just so, so easy to use. And they require, like I said, they are battery operated, or you can plug them into the wall AC. So all these lights can be plugged right into the AC power. You don't need any generator to run them. So to me, this is just the future.
So Ben is asking, how does light in different country affect your process? Does that that'll be probably for you, Anthony? How do you feel about that? You probably travel a lot.
Say that again. Sorry, I didn't.
Ben was asking, how does light in different country affect your process? I'm in the UK, and it's gray here.
Yeah.
Is it challenging for you to shoot in different country?
It's not challenging, but it's just as different. Like I've worked in Africa where the sunlight is very warm, right?
Yeah.
Like it's very warm. Yeah. And I've lived in Canada here where now you go outside, the light is quite blue, right? Yeah. And the blue light is very different because when you're shooting close to the forest, it's actually blue, it's more cyan because none of the bounce from the forest comes into the scene. So when you shoot, you realize it's very green. And so it all depends on where you're shooting, right? So you have to deal with that issues. And like I said, sometimes the lighting can be up to 10,000 Kelvin. Yeah. Whereas you're required like 5,000 Kelvin or 5,400 Kelvin to shoot, like it gives you a nice skin tone. So when you're dealing with 10,000 Kelvin, 15,000 Kelvin, you need to be able to do white balance. And that's what we do all the time is get yourself like a white balance, you shoot white balance to be able to know what kind of color temperature you're dealing with, And in most cases, it's not a big problem with digital cameras because you can go into a color timing and fix those, because all this is all metadata. It's all zeros and ones, right? So you can fix them, but just for the producers and the directors to watch to be able to figure out what look you're going for. And so you just have to deal with the white balance and realize that the color temperatures are all different depending on the time of the day. It's not consistent. It's different in the morning. It's different as it progresses to the evening. It's all different color temperature, right? Yeah. And so it's not a big deal. It depends on where you go. You just have to be mindful of the fact that the color temperatures are different wherever you are.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. But even depending where you live, like the lighting is always changing based on time of year. I think it's just one of those things where you shouldn't see it as a limitation and embrace it and what's right for the story and what the look is really.
Yeah. And like I said, it's all metadata, right? It doesn't matter how you shot. I've done shows where I shot everything blue. I just left it because I just didn't have time. I just shot blue. And then when I go into color timing, I'd be able to put on warmth and shape the image the way I want it. So most of this stuff is done in color timing, right? So as a director photographer, you have to make sure that you have access to color timing. You don't want other people to color time your shows because the whole thing can be, like I've worked on TV series where I let the post-production be color timing for my show. And then when I saw it, I was horrified. And so, I was just terrible. And I said, absolutely not. I don't mind going on weekends to color time these shows, but I don't want to give anybody permission to color time my shows because they don't know what look we were going for, right? So it's very important that you color time it. And it's not a big deal there's no mistake in digital unless you screw up like really, really bad. Otherwise, most things can be recovered in color timing. right?
Yeah.
Like I've shot shows where I just shot it and it was dark, and the producers were complaining. I said, don't worry about it. When I go color time, I can bring it up, and they were just complaining throughout the whole show. And so when I did color time, and I get a phone call, said, oh my God, that's beautiful. I said, yeah, I know. I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, I can bring it out to color timing, and most times you set up the camera at 75% zebra, which you guys understand. So with 75% zebra means that you can bring anything up to 25%, even maybe 45% up. Doesn't matter how that is. You can make it as bright as you want, right? So yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So Vincent here is asking, what's your viewpoint about mixing different kinds of light sources like tungsten and LED, or I guess that also include HMI as well?
Me, I like doing it. I like it because to me, that's life. When you go outside, wherever you are in the night and look around and you see this mixture of different colors, there is mercury vapor light that's coming from the street lights. There is all the lights from the, houses and from the businesses that are spilling onto the street. So life is different color, and the only thing you have to be mindful is the faces. Like you can utilize different lighting to light the set, but when it comes to the faces, you have to make sure that the faces have a proper color temperature, because otherwise the actors will look like a ghost, so they look like brown, or look at something that's not pleasing to the eyes, right? And so you just got to be mindful of how you use those lights. I like using them quite a bit because to me that's how life is. That's how a representation of what what the street life is. Even in my place, apartment where I live now, I look around. There's different kind of color of lights everywhere. So you have to duplicate reality, right? Yeah. I mean, that's me. It's very subjective. Everyone's different, but for me, I like mixing different color of lights.
Yeah, I think it's also just color contrast. I really like playing with color contrast, like warm light, cool light, and again, like Anthony said, it's like, I'm not too worried about some of the lights in the background. Like if there's an actual sodium vapor or something that might not have the most perfect CRI or something that's a little dirty, that doesn't bother me. My main concern is just having the cleanest light on talent and like really making sure their skin tones and things like that are the best. But I do love mixing like, warm light. And again, like I'm not too picky. Like I think the way the LEDs have come along, especially like sky panels and like the light mats, like the color is amazing. I think the light matte tungsten is very good. I mix it with practicals all the time and dial it in and get it close, and it's getting better and better. And I remember when LEDs first came out, I remember saying, "There's no way this is going to catch on," because it came out in film school. We had this big 18, or what was it? It's called the Aiden Eco Punch. It was a giant light. You needed a crank for it, and the green cast was the worst thing I've ever seen. And we had to put like full magenta just to make it kind of look normal. And I remember like, we'd go into the post, we'd be like, oh, I don't even know what's going on here. And you'd have to like pull down the green like crazy. But with the technology changing, you can mix them. I'd say I'm most cautious about mixing HMIs and tungsten sometimes in the circumstances, but it's circumstance specific. But I think the way the sensors are, they can really handle all the different types of light and just keeping talent clean. What about you, Rohan?
I mixing light color wise, is that the question?
I just like different types, like LED, tungsten, HMI, just mixing different types of lights.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I do love mixing tungsten and but I find that that LED is just because it's spectrum of the color mix. You can go to it's just quick. You can change, from one spectrum to the next, from one color temperature to another color temperature, very quickly, very fast, very easy, and then just gelling lights or screaming, whatever it is. I'm not really technical when it comes to those things, like what you guys are. I mean, you guys see a different viewpoint being a DP, and then I see as being a gaffer. So, yeah.
You see, all the LED lighting that I have now, I've done like I did like last year we did like 5 shows, and the last 2 shows that we did, I shot entirely with LED lighting. You know, there was just the whole thing was shot with LED lighting, and all this LED lighting had built-in color spectrum, right? They have like gel, they have like thousands of gels you can dial in this LED lighting. So it was first time I did it. So most of the times is, you know, I would just dial in the color that we want into the LED lighting, and it was so easy and was so beautiful to do. And I think from now on, majority of the shows that I'll be doing will be probably shot entirely with LED lighting. I've never used 18K for quite a long time, you know. And so it's to me, this is the future, right? And you know, you need to create contrast using color. You know, you have to learn how to create contrast using color, you know, and create 3 dimension using color. Right.
I think with going that direction, you think that eliminate the Jenny, the truck.
Well,
you know what I mean? Because now everything becoming so low.
Because like I said, on my own generator, just like it's not going to eliminate the journey completely, because you still need a craft service. You need craft service. You still need the what they call the honey wagons that all the heaters and all the heaters and air conditioning.
But so for lighting, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, but for the lighting, it's going to make things go faster. It's going to make like things go faster for us. It's not like we, you know, for us, it's not like they have to wait for lighting most of the times anyway. Just that it eliminates having to run cables to lights, you know, like hundreds of cables, you know, for your case, just to light, putting like 18Ks up there, you know, with the 12 light LED lighting, which I told that I have. You plug right into the wall, plug into AC power, and then you know, the problem is it's heavy. You know, and so you can take it up the crane and light up the whole entire area with this light. The same thing as is using like a 12 light, constant light, right? You know, so the point is, it's changing. It's changing. It's becoming easier for you as a gaffer, for me as a DAP to be able to move really quickly. Because I remember cases where we have to wait for an hour just to set up the cable, simply because we have to light up a whole series, and for me the time is changing. I like it. It's not like it's going to eliminate jobs. It's not going to eliminate anybody's jobs. It's still going to be the same amount of crew members that I use. It's just that it's going to make things go faster and allows me as a DP to be more creative, right? Utilize the time that I save to be creative, right?
Yeah, and also too, when 18K goes down and hot strike, it is another 10, 15 minutes you have to wait to restrike it. You know what I mean? You're not gonna have that problem with LED.
Yeah. And with this LEDs I'm talking about, you can dim it using your phone. You know, even though since it dims down using my phone, it changes the color, right? I can go from 5500 Kelvin to 3200 Kelvin to 2500 Kelvin to whatever I want, but just by using his phone just to dial it up. So to me, that's the future of lighting. Right. So
there's so much control with the fixtures as well, with like the least amount of work compared to before, and just dialing things into where you exactly want them. You can see that instantly. So it just makes things so much faster, and like it's definitely
and also, to me, for most people, some of the independent filmmakers that are some of the issues becomes money. I don't have the money to do a story that I have. This is making it easier for people to actually be able to do stories, because the equipment is not that expensive anymore. The lighting is becoming less expensive, and so everything is becoming accessible and less expensive. So I honestly think it's a good thing, because it allows storytellers to be able to have the the gear and the equipment to be able to tell their story without worrying about how much it's going to cost, right, to do it. So on one hand, it's a good thing, right? Yeah.
That's good. Okay. I think we got all the questions in.
Yeah, I don't see any more questions.
Yeah. The only thing I say, like, I work with the first all black cast on, because most of the stuff I do is mostly Hallmark Lifetime shows, but I was able to work with Kelly, Kelly Rowland.
Yeah.
We did Merry Little Christmas, which was all black cast. It was a pleasure doing it. We did a Merry Little Christmas 1 and 2, and now they're doing the third one now, which they've just got it. It was one of the highest rated show for Lifetime. So they've given a go ahead to do a third one. So it's really that's a pleasure to to know that the environment is changing, and because thanks to Black Panther, which did so much, did so well. All the producers and everyone's realizing that multicultural shows and actually does work, and so I'm looking forward to see what the future brings, But I think it's bright, it's nice, And for some of the people that are listening to us who are minorities and women, this is best opportunity to get into the film industry. It's unfortunate that coronavirus is still here, but once the coronavirus is over, I think it's best time to get into the film industry will be at best time now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I will say that, this year, I've worked with the most diverse, crews and cast of my whole career, and it's been pretty inspiring, and it's for a long time. Obviously, you've both been working in this industry for a long time, and you know what? Coming up, when I was in film school, I was the only black, or I was 2 Black people in my year, but just there's not a lot of us, and and when you see other people that look like you, and you're shooting, and it just makes you feel like you can do it, and I think that's such an important thing, is just to the industry should match what our country looks like and how diverse it is, and it's an honor to talk with both of you here, and both in your own ranks who've been there for a long time, working in these industries and being that person representing the Black community, and it's very impressive and telling. So that's very inspirational for me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I hope we do this again soon.
Yeah, feelings very mutual.
So let's keep in touch. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure. It was great talking to both of you.
All right.
Yes.
All right. Talk to you guys later. It was a pleasure talking to both of you, and I learned a lot. And it's nice to see people of color taking charge.
Next time I come to Ottawa to work, I'll look for you.
It would be my pleasure to work with you.
Yeah, it would be a pleasure. Yeah.
Just before you go, Anthony, have you know of Anthony Ellis? Have you heard of him, Anthony Ellis?
Sounds familiar.
He's an operator.
Okay.
There's not many people of color who's an operator in the city.
He's in Vancouver, right? In Vancouver.
No, he's in Toronto.
Okay. Yeah.
I think sometime in the future, if you want looking for some operator, he's someone you should look into contact.
Okay.
He's very good.
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
I will. Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess that's it.
Yes, that's it.
That's it. Nice chatting to everyone.
Okay. Well, see you guys, right?
Talk to you guys.